Hi, my name is Hannes Leroy, and I'm an associate editor at Journal of Management Studies. And in this talk today, I want to talk a little bit about how to frame your OB paper when you're getting it ready to send to Journal of Management Studies. Over the years, we've noticed an increase of the number of OB submissions that we get to JMS, and we want to make sure that those who want to submit to the journal get a good insight on what is it that we are looking for in OB papers. Beyond that, what we also hope to do with this presentation is give you insight more generally into how JMS stands out as a journal for OB researchers. Because we're pretty sure that there are some paper out there that might be really hard to get published in another journal, but that might be exactly the right fit for a journal like JMS. Allow me to clarify that a little bit. What you see here are 5 what I would call unique features of JMS. And I say unique here because, of course, there are certain features of what we expect for publications that are true for other top outlets, right? Such as the quality of the data, the making sure that your contribution is well theoretically framed such that it can lead to a good theoretical contribution, the fit between the data that you have and the contribution that you have, all things that I think other top journals have emphasized. What I will focus on here today is the things that I believe make JMS a little bit more unique, and thus how you can frame your paper accordingly. Let's look at the first principle here. The first principle is about whether your paper is more specialist, meaning you speak to a niche crowd of people, or more generalist, meaning it is intended to reach a wide audience. And JMS very much has a wide readership. So you want to frame your paper so that it is interesting to a wide variety of people. This is not always easy for people to comprehend, so allow me to give you a metaphor to help you understand what we mean by that. Let's say you are doing a job doc, and let's say you're doing a job doc at a business school, right? You could do a job doc for people who are experts in your topic or experts in your field, but you could also do a job doc for people across the business schools. And now you've got economists there, sociologists, you've got labor relations, and so forth, a wide variety of people. Now, with that in mind, you will likely frame your job talk a little bit different, right? You will likely take your reader or your listener by the hand a little bit more by explaining core concepts and building a broader picture of how it could relate to other areas of interest and disciplines. And that's typically what we would like you to do for a JMS paper, to make sure that the wide variety of readers and reviewers completely understand, comprehend your paper. We ask you to take them by the hand in that way. Second point that makes JMS unique is JMS is quite, we would say, inclusive. JMS is an eclectic journal. Eclectic meaning that it publishes on a wide variety of methodologies as well as perspectives. And while diversity of scholarship is often promoted, it's also really hard to accomplish. But at JMS, we really pride ourselves in creating an inclusive environment, such that wherever perspective you come from, we make sure that you get a fair chance. More than that, we will actively encourage you as an author in, for example, a revision process to look over the fence, to consider a different methodology, to consider a different perspective to further enrich the paper that you have. All in all, I'll state it again, at JMS, we want to make sure that we are a very inclusive journal and that whatever theoretical perspective or method that you bring to the table, that it gets a fair chance in the process. A third consideration is around practical contributions. And at JMS, the readers of the journals are not just other academics. They are also practitioners who take JMS by the hand to see if it can inform them in their daily decisions on, for example, how to run an organization. Now, this has implications for how you write up the work. For instance, your practical implications is not just a section in your discussion section that you consider after you've written all the rest. No, ideally, from the outset of your study, and not just in the writing, your research question and your research design ideally anticipates this practical consideration. The research is set up and designed in a way to have an impact on practice. A fourth point of importance here is that JMS offers a critical but constructive perspective. Now, the progress of science is ultimately incremental, but at JMS we typically value papers, manuscripts, ideas that tend to break ground, that deviate from the well-trodden path and offer a new idea, a new perspective on this. In fact, that is something that we will actively encourage to you to seek a critical and a novel perspective on the phenomenon that you are studying. Again, not all journals may value this, right? You can imagine writing a paper for a journal where you're already anticipating that the people who will be reading it may not like your critical perspective on a certain phenomenon, making sure that you dismiss that idea pretty quickly. However, at JMS, we pride ourselves of making sure that that critical perspective still has a chance. And in our role as associate editors, but also in how we select our reviewers, we want to make sure that critical, constructive, improvement-oriented ideas, that there is a safe environment for those at JMS. A final point of consideration is all about theoretical contributions. And again, theoretical contributions can be incremental, they can be data-driven, but ideally at JMS we look at contributions that help shift the perspective in some way, right? Aligned with the previous point that I highlighted, ideally you bring forward a certain lens on a phenomenon that helps people to view this topic, this phenomenon, in a little bit of a different way. As such that they will not only cite your work because of its empirical contribution, but they will cite it for the ideas that it brings forward. And yes, we are willing to make trade-offs. We are willing to make trade-offs for a really good, novel, interesting idea compared to other criteria that are typically valued at top journals. 5 criteria, and I realize that may seem like a lot to handle, and in no way do we want to say that you have to hit all 5 marks. No. Having 1, having 2, having 3 would already significantly increase the likelihood that you can make it through the process at JMS. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any additional questions, and good luck with framing your OB paper for JMS.